please check the resolution. Okay, insert okay. Okay, it seems like we are live. Okay, so okay, if you hear this sound like sort of like repeating, I'm sorry about that. I was checking if everything was fine, since I cannot actually hear the sound as I speak. Okay, so to those of you who have already joined us, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this tutorial session. I'm sorry for delaying and starting late. I was struggling to connect with my to connect to YouTube. Okay, so without wasting any more of your time, I'm just gonna take you through the basics of a memorandum. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the feedback that they gave students last year for assignment 1, and then you can use to do this where they make a lot of noise. Okay, so let's, before we go to our slides, let me show you the feedback from last year. Okay, so I'm gonna show it on the screen. So I hope YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, so guys, let me try to use a different network, because this one seems like it's giving me problems. So let's continue in 5 minutes. I'd like to apologize for that again. Okay, sorry. So yeah, so I'll take the next minute to check, to sort of log in and check if everything is running smooth, and then from there we can spend the next 30 minutes discussing the assignment. Okay, so let's see if everything is fine. Okay, I'm looking at it from this one. Let's see. So yeah, so I'll take the next minute to check to sort of log. So yeah, I'm happy with everything. Okay, I just hope the sound is clear. Okay, so if you're looking at the screen now, you'll see that the lecturers actually outline some of the common mistakes that students make So this is like the feedback from last year's assignment, which had like similar, like sort of the same questions. The topic might have been different, but the questions were the same. The first question, they were supposed to compile a memorandum. The second question, they were supposed to do minutes, right? So it's basically the same thing. So let's look at the common mistakes before we attempt to solve the analyze the questions that we are given for this year. Okay, so the first one, they stated that you must, okay, please note some of the challenges that some of the students experience in an attempt to present an appropriate memorandum. Okay, one, instructions not read with understanding. So the first thing that you must do, you need to understand what's required from you. Direction. So the first thing you need to know is to understand the question. I'll try to make it easy for you by explaining what is required, right? So this, I think I can assist you with that. Secondly, inappropriate names of the sender and receivers. Okay, I will discuss that through slides and then through examples. Another point that they make is failure to follow appropriate format of writing a memorandum. We're gonna cover that in the slides. Inappropriate subject line, we're gonna discuss that in the slides as well. Poorly presented introduction paragraph. Okay, we're gonna discuss that as well. Information not presented in the formal manner. So your language is important. It's important to focus on appropriate language. So whenever you're writing something, the first thing that you need to take into account is your audience. So the language that you use when you're writing to your friend is different to the language that you use in a workplace. Remember the name of the module, right? So they're trying to teach you to write like documents, or to write to convey message in an appropriate manner. Okay, in a manner that's suitable for the workplace. Okay, then they said inaccurate presentation of content, incomplete information presented, inappropriate complimentary clause. Okay, poor presentation, lack of correctness, completeness, coherence, conciseness, and clarity. Okay, so these are some of the things that they identified as the core problems when compiling a memorandum. Okay, so with that in mind, let us go through what a memorandum is, right? I'm gonna try to explain this through slides. Okay, so a memorandum is formally known as a memo. Okay, so they can say it's a memo, or compile a memo, or a memorandum. They're basically referring to the same thing. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, what's happening with our slides? Okay, so what is the purpose of a memorandum? Generally, a memorandum is a written message that is typically used in a professional setting. So in most cases, a memorandum is short and it is straight to the point. You make sure that you say you don't sugarcoat things. You just get straight to the point. If you're trying to warn someone about something that they've done, you just state it and then they need to know that, okay, this is what I did wrong, without trying to decode your message because it's long and you've included things that are really not necessary. Okay, so in most companies use memorandums inter alia to invite, congratulate, notify, and make requests. So whether you're inviting someone to come make a presentation, you can use a memo. Whether you want to congratulate someone who has actually done well in something, you can use a memo. If maybe there's something that you want to notify, you need people to know about, you can use a memo. In this case, when looking at our assignment, so we are actually notifying, alerting the staff members about what the Miss Dimba has discovered. So in this case, we will be notifying them, we'll be alerting them. Okay, so we're gonna discuss that a little bit more when we get to the actual assignment, right? So I'm just gonna give you at the moment I'm giving you a background of what a memo is. Okay, so depending on the purpose of the memo, there are often slight variations in how the information is presented. Okay, so when you are congratulating someone, the tone is different, the structure of the message itself is different. So even the way you close the memo, it's different. Okay, because it serves a different purpose in that particular when you dealing with different things. Okay, so let us okay, let me focus on this. Okay, so let us look at the structure, okay, or the parts of a memorandum. Okay, so in general, a memo has a header, an introduction, the body, and conclusion. Okay, so in your header you'll have details such as the recipient's name and surname, the sender's name and surname, the date at which the memo was compiled, and then a subject. So here it is very important to make sure that your subject is clear. So just by reading your subject, people will understand what the memo is about without reading anything else. The subject must be clear. Okay, so and then in your introduction, that is where you give context to the main. Okay, so that is where the context is actually explained. Okay, and then the body, you sort of like elaborate on what you had introduced. Okay, you explain and elaborate on the purpose of the memo by giving details and clarification. You'll see that when we're looking at the assignment. Okay, I'll give you like typical examples of what might be included. Okay, and then how to go about it. Okay, so in your conclusion, that's where you wrap up the memo with a call to action if an action is required. Okay, or a final reminder if maybe you're notifying them of some important stuff, right? Okay, so how does it look like? Okay, so the header, how do you write it? So the next slide will show you how you can write a memo. So for example, this one, the header of the memo is written as follows. So it's directed to GRP sales staff. Okay, you see, it's not one person, it's the staff member. So it's GRP sales staff. You did not write the name of the person because it's not really directed to one person. So if you were congratulating one person, you could write the name. Let's say, for example, you're congratulating Benny, you can write Benny. If you are sending this to 100 people or a particular department, just like this one, this is the sales department. Okay, then you can include that, but make it clear that you are writing to those people. So if a person receives this memo, they are sure that you were actually sending it to them. So be clear. If it's a name, let it be a name. If it's a department, specify that department. Okay, and then you write the sender. So who is sending this memo? In this example, I'm using Kali. So I'm actually the one who's sending it, and I'm also the manager of that particular company. So as you can see, like if you decide to approach it this way, you'll see that the name manager, there are no colons like before the name. So you just write Kali, and then on the next line you move the text so that it's in line with Kali without including the semicolon. Okay, the colon, it's not a semicolon. Okay, the colon. Okay, then you include the date. So when you're writing the date, just make sure that you write a full date. So it must have a day, month, and year. Okay, and then the most important part, your subject. So for example, here, this example, the subject is customer presentation. So if somebody was involved in a customer presentation and I send them a memo, with the subject of customer presentation, they'll automatically know what I'm referring to, right? Okay, so I think you need to follow this line. So for the assignment itself, if you read the instruction, if it says that you are the one who's sending the memo, just write your name. If the instruction says somebody else is sending the memo, okay, use the name of that person, because sometimes they trick you. Some years they tell you that, okay, you are the secretary, you are what to treat. Okay, in some years they'll say Miss who and who is the secretary. So make sure that you use the correct name. If they say you are the secretary, use your name. If they say somebody else is the secretary and is sending the memo, use their name. In this case, don't be tempted to use Miss Kimba. Is it Miss Kimba? So let me check my note. So don't be tempted to use Miss Kimba. Where is the question paper? Okay, sorry about this. I need to have access to the question paper. Where's the question paper? I just hope it won't reveal things it's not supposed to reveal. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on the question paper. Okay, isn't it open? Okay, so that we can look at the actual question. Okay, so yeah, this is the question paper, question 1. Let's analyze the question then, so that we are clear. Okay, question 1. The purpose of this question is to assess your ability to write a memorandum. This requires you to do the necessary preparatory reading so that you can answer the question convincingly and adequately. Okay, you should ask yourself whether the intended reader of this memorandum will grasp the purpose and respond with the expected outcome. Okay, so you work as a secretary. You see, in this case, you are the secretary, so make sure that the sender is you. Okay, do not be tempted to use Miss Dimba, or it's Dimba, Miss Dimba's surname as the one who's sending. No. Use you are the one who's sending the memo. Okay, yeah, so make sure that you use your name as the sender, not Miss Dimba. Okay, so I think that is clear. Let's continue with the slides then. Okay, I just hope, okay, so everything is fine. Okay, so let's move on now. I think the first part, it's clear. The first part is your header. Then we've actually discussed this example. Now let us move to the introduction, and then we need to remember the purpose of the introduction, right? So the purpose of the introduction is this is where the context is actually explained. Okay, so here I've included 2 examples. Okay, so the first one, as you can see, the introduction is very short. The second one, the introduction is very long. Okay, so it depends on the purpose one. If you're supposed to explain a lot of things, then your introduction is supposed to be long. If it can be explained in 1 line, you can explain it in 1 line, and then you'll elaborate on the body itself. Okay, you'll expand and elaborate on the body itself. So the first example starts as follows. Okay, reads as follows. The PEP marketing presentation. So remember the header that we use. Okay, the PEP marketing presentation you prepared last week to showcase our new application was exceptional. That's it. That was smooth, like it's done. Okay, so now you know what you've actually explained the context. So now you know what's okay. This thing, it shows that, okay, this is gonna be the memo is gonna be all about them complimenting your work and all that. Then you're gonna elaborate on this on the body, right? Okay, and then example number 2 states that, okay, the management of Tabang Hot Foods restaurant would like to thank the supervisors and staff members of this restaurant for their devotion, hard work, and a hospitable environment which our customers receive and enjoy from the restaurant. We can only provide outstanding customer service and tasteful food when we regularly attend courses and update our food preparation and customer service skills. You see, both examples, they sort of like introduce what is gonna be expanded on the body, right? So there's not really a lot of information even on the second example. They just introduced what they're gonna be expand on the body. So it's important to actually note that, okay, here you explain the context, right? And then on the actual body, you focus on giving it more meat and then adding on it, right? Okay, so basically in your introduction, keep it short and make sure that you explain the context, and then you elaborate on it on the body, not on the introduction itself. Okay, so let's move on now to the body. So okay, let's move on to the body. Okay, so remember the first example, the line that we're focusing on with the example one is basically that the person had presented well, and then the first line, basically the introduction is, explained that, okay, their work was exceptional, and then now you add on it. Okay, so here the body says your enthusiasm, sales strategy and product knowledge were impressive and certainly sealed the deal with Mr. Carter. You see, we continuing, we adding meat on what we said on the introduction. We told them that, okay, they did a good job, and then now we explain why we think they did a good job. Okay, they were enthusiastic and they had a perfect sales strategy and their product knowledge. You see, we are adding and then we are giving meat to the actual information that we introduced earlier. Okay, so for example number 2, we say, okay, example number 2 says, okay, we have recently received, remember example number 2 is the continuation from example number 2 from the introduction that we just read on the previous slide, right? So we have recently received an invitation from Professor Teledi Bone. Okay, now we're explaining why, okay, we're giving meat to what we introduced at the beginning. So now we are telling them that, okay, we've received an invitation. In the introduction, we told them that it is important for the company to attend. It is important for the company to attend courses and improve the skills, blah blah blah. Okay, now then we give meat to the context of we elaborating on it now. Okay, so we have recently received an invitation from Professor Teledi Bones, head of the Food and Science Department of Cupid University, to attend their upcoming food demonstration event. Participants will learn about food preparation as well as the importance and the process of scientific food production. We have been requested to send 5 representatives from our restaurant. Therefore, you are requested to work together with the supervisors and nominate 5 staff members to represent us at the event. Demonstrations will be held on Friday, 15 May 2022 at the Food and Science Department Cooking Arena. The event will start at 9 o'clock until 4 p.m. Transport will be available to pick up our representatives at 7:30 from the main gate. Please remember to bring your tablets with or to record the information and demonstration. Okay, as you can see, this is actually expanding on what was introduced, right? Okay, So next we're gonna look at the conclusion examples, conclusion examples, right? So then what are we supposed to do in the conclusion? This is where we wrap up everything, right? So if there is a call to action, this is where we emphasize that. If we need to remind them of something, this is where we make the final reminder. Okay, then example 1 says, if you would like to participate, please indicate on the list in my office where. No, so this example 1 here is the continuation from example 2 from the previous slide. Okay, if you like to participate, please indicate on the list in my office whether you will work on Saturday or Sunday. No, this is not even that. I think I took this from somewhere, I don't remember. Okay, but this is an example of a conclusion, so it's not really related to the previous one. So this is a call to action, right? You're emphasizing, okay, that they should do something, and then this is where you make your final reminder. If you like to participate, please indicate on the list in my office whether you will work on Saturday or Sunday. Please do this before 15 October. A light lunch will be served with tea and coffee. Okay, so this is a conclusion. You remind them that if they want to participate, for example, in this case, they want to participate in something, then they should do something. You tell them what this is where you make a call to action, and then which is basically your final reminder. Okay, so example number 2 says, our restaurant will benefit a lot from this event. We look forward to learning from your lessons and experiences. Okay, so this is actually the continuation from the previous. Okay, so let us focus on our assignment. Okay, enough about this. This was just background information, and I was trying to give you ideas of what the different sections might look like. Okay, so let's close the slides and focus on our assignment. Okay, don't save. Okay, let us focus on the assignment that we're given. Okay, so the first question, they say, write a memorandum to the staff to draw their attention to Miss Dimba's discovery. In your memorandum, you should present the ideas and information in an appropriate format with well-structured paragraphs, appropriate style, and grammatically correct English. Your answer should not exceed one page in length. Okay, so to those of you who are new, the standard that is often used for ENN1504 is that you're supposed to use your Arial font, also use 12 Arial font, and the font size is gonna be 12, and then your line spacing has to be 1.5. Okay, if you are confused by what I'm saying, let me just open a Word document and then show you. Okay, the computer is a bit slow. Come on, just give me Word. Okay, let's see, just click here. Just hope it's not gonna waste our time. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do when you start writing your assignment, you're gonna come here, you'll change this to Arial, and then change this to 12. Okay, this is 12. Okay, and then this is where you change your line spacing. so you're gonna make it 1.5. okay, if you already had some text, the best thing to do, you can press Control, hold it. Control is the CTRL button on your bottom left in most computers. Control and then press A to select everything at the same time without letting go of Control. Press A and then change the font size, the font, then font size, and then you come here and change your spacing to 1.5. okay, that's it. So when they say one page, consider one page with those settings in mind. Okay, yeah, okay, so enough about that. Don't save that. Okay, so here you'll realize that you are not given a lot of information, so you'll have to be creative as to how you approach this. Okay, for your starters, how did Miss Timber find out? You can use that information when you are giving me it in your body. Okay, in your introduction, you'll alert the staff that, okay, Miss Timber has discovered 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you can keep it short. You can make it like very short, 1 or 2 lines or 2 to 3 lines. It's up to you, as long as it's clear that, okay, Miss Timber has discovered. You are explaining to them that Miss Timber has discovered that the cashiers were selling incorrect parts. Okay, so that's gonna be in your introduction. Then in your body, you elaborate on it. One of the things that you can say in your body, first you can explain that by them selling the wrong parts, they're gonna end up losing clients. The tone is important in this context. You sort of like reprimanding them for not working as they should, but do it in a professional way. Okay, and then some of the ideas that you might include is that, okay, you'll explain, okay, how providing bad service will impact the company. Okay, you can look at it in a different light. You can reprimand them. Okay, lie that you'll institute an investigation, and they'll have to cooperate with whoever is gonna be hired. You can make up some names that you're gonna okay, give some people the task to investigate the cashiers or even the entire staff. Okay, but you're supposed to be creative about this. Okay, so if you take that direction, okay, there is an investigation, and then in your closing you can ask them to cooperate with whoever is investigating, if you're looking at it from that perspective. Okay, so another thing, you can decide that, okay, I'm gonna look at this, there's no investigation that is gonna take place, but the people that are involved will be called by Miss Timber to explain their position. You can explain, you can make cap stories that, okay, Miss Timber could have discovered, okay, this is like the first part, could have discovered that the cashiers were selling incorrect parts because the clients complained to her office, or they send letters, or they email her, or whatever. You'll come up. Okay, you just have to be creative about this. They did not give you anything. That's the most important thing. But whatever you do, make sure that you're consistent with your line, okay, with the direction that you're taking, and make sure that the language is appropriate. Make sure that it is formal, right? It is formal. I've seen some students, I think in the Telegram group, I've seen some students asking if the memorandum had to be like written in past tense. There are parts that deserve to be past tense, like when you're telling somebody that you found something, it actually took place in the past, right? But if you require them to do things like in the future, that cannot be past tense. So just be careful about your tenses and make sure that whatever you are using is correct. Okay, so yeah, basically I think if you can do that, then don't waste a lot of time on it. If you can do that, you should be fine. Okay, and another tip is that make sure that you get access to the feedback from last semester. Even I think the last 2 semesters, is it? Yeah, the last 2 semesters, yeah, they included memos. The other one did not include a memo. I think it included an email. Okay, so yeah, just make sure that you get access to the feedback. It is actually available in the Telegram group. If you go to your files, you'll find it there. Okay, so let us move on now to question number 2. This is like minutes. I was so angry when I saw the question paper. I think the transcript is too long. The transcript was too long. In previous semesters, the transcript was short. Let me count how many pages are here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, three and a half pages. Okay, it's not that bad, but I wasn't too impressed. Okay, so okay, then when you're dealing with when you're writing minutes, okay, I think we should use the same approach as the previous one. Let's first go back to the feedback from last semester and go to the common mistakes that students make. Okay, so okay, so let me read through these, and then we can we can take it from there. Okay, so whilst we receive many responses that reflect a sound understanding of the key criteria in recording minutes accurately, we would like to draw your attention to the following challenges a few students experience. Failure to adhere to specific instructions given in the question. Inability to distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information from the meeting discussion. That is very important. So as much as it is actually 3 pages, like I showed you that, okay, the transcript is actually 3 pages. Most of the information might not really be necessary to include in your minutes. There are things that are just not necessary. So you're supposed to report the important information in relation to the topic. And the topic, you get the sense of the topic through the item description, in fact. So in this case, like for our assignment, we're gonna be focusing on increasing incidence of theft. Anything that is not related to that is not really important, right? So the topic or the header in your minutes, it actually tells you what you should discuss in that particular item. Okay, so okay, let's continue with this. They say some important points were left out, and the utterances made to support some arguments were not supposed to be included in the minutes. Inability to summarize key discussion areas. This is important. Inability to summarize key discussion areas. The misconception that the use of reported speech using the actual transcript constitutes the minutes. Okay, the inability to record minutes of the meeting in the past tense. This is where you include you use past tense, because the meeting has already had actually taken place, right? So you're looking at it as an event that took place some time back. Okay, inclusion of irrelevant agenda items in the minutes of the meeting, such as welcome, attendance, and apologies. No, so we're not gonna do this because the instruction clearly states that we should not consider the whole format of minutes. We just have to look at the item that we are given, right? Inconsistencies in the structure of the minutes of the meeting, exclusion of names of proposers and seconders. Okay, this is important. If somebody proposed something and then it was seconded by somebody else, it is important to note who proposed it and then who seconded that. Inaccurate recording of the resolution taken in the segment of the meeting. Poor presentation, lack of correctness, completeness, coherence, conciseness, and clarity. Okay, so these are some of the mistakes that we are likely to make if we do not pay attention to it. So with this in mind, after writing your minutes, make sure that you go through this list and check whether you adhered to whatever they wanted you to adhere to, and then make sure that everything is in order. Okay, so let's move on now to the actual assignment. Okay, we're not gonna spend a lot of time here. I think most of the things that we read on the feedback actually explains what we're supposed to do. Okay, so it is important here. The most important thing to consider is to make sure that when you're writing your minutes, you use past tense. I think that's the most important thing. Secondly, you replace, like in cases where they use slang, you replace that using like formal language. Okay, because in a meeting people can use whatever. They don't have to necessarily use formal language, but when the minutes are recorded, it's supposed to be formal because it forms part of the business, and everything in business is supposed to be professional. Okay, so the best thing you can do is to first read everything that was said, and then highlight the things that you think are not important, highlight the things that you think are important, and make sure that the things that you've highlighted as important are all included in your minutes. Okay, I'll show you like some examples, but I'm not going to take you through the whole thing. Okay, some of the things that I think are really not important. Okay, what we can do, if we were to read all of this, it will take us a lot of time. I just hope everyone has their question paper. Okay, so I'll give you typical examples of things that are really not important. Let us look at the discussion between Mr. Abdullah and Miss Williams. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Mr. Abdullah. My dear Miss Williams, even the most honest employee may be tempted when he sees the variety of meats and foodstuff we work with each day, especially in these hard economic times. And this is stupid. This is absurd, colleague. Mr. Chairman, I expect an immediate apology or I will leave this meeting. Mr. Abdullah, don't be ridiculous. We are all on the same side here, and I'm only doing my job. There is no time for being overly sensitive, and I consider all matters of security extremely serious and not to be taken lightly. Mr. Chairman, if I may, really, colleagues, this is not the place to nitpick, but I must agree with Mr. Abdullah. I don't think he pointed a finger at anyone. So Miss Williams, don't cloud the issue. Okay, so if you look at that whole discussion, like this has nothing, like most of this has nothing to do with the issue. Because if you look at Miss Williams, she's trying to defend her department that okay, they are not really thieves, and they are not really addressing the issue at hand. Are they really addressing the issue of increasing criminality? No. And then most of this does not really need to be included in your minutes. No one needs to know that there was a back and forth exchange of words between Miss Williams and Mr. Abdullah. So it's not really important. There might be one or two things that you include, but in this case, this whole exchange doesn't really contribute towards. It doesn't really have. It's not really important when compiling your minutes. So you see, while we have 3 pages, this whole thing here, I might ignore approximately 90% of it. Okay, so and then you keep, and then sometimes some of the information may look as if it's actually important. Okay, and then when you really read it, you find out that it doesn't really have to be there. So okay, enough with that. So we need to identify things that are off the topic, and then identify things that are actually important, okay, to consider when writing our minutes. But then how do you write a paragraph? Then if they say we need to use a linear style, what is a linear style? Okay, firstly, a linear style simply means that you need to write it in paragraph form. And then when you're writing in paragraph form, how then do you synthesize that particular information into something that they really want? Okay, I'll give you a typical example. So I'm gonna try to read what Mr. Abdullah say, because most of these things are actually important and needs to be included in your minutes, right? Okay. So, okay, Mr. Abdullah stated that from my side, I could draw up a general warning outlining steps that will be taken against anyone caught stealing or anyone turning a blind eye. I'll discuss it with the HR department and then with you, Chair. And once we are satisfied, I'll forward it to all of you for comment. Okay, so in this paragraph, Mr. Abdullah actually states some of the things that he will do. Okay, and then and if you look at the information that he presents here, it's actually helpful towards dealing with the issue of increasing theft, right? So how do you synthesize that information and write it in a way that is acceptable in your minutes? Okay, so this is an example. You can write it as follows. Okay, Mr. Abdullah proposed that he could draw up a general warning outlining the steps to be followed against anyone caught stealing or failing to report a crime. He added that he will discuss the steps with the chairperson and HR department, after which he will send the document to members for comments. Okay, you see, this is the same thing that he said. If you read these 2 paragraphs, you can get almost all the important points that he was conveying in that statement. That's what they want from you. Identify the important information, synthesize it, write it in a manner that reflects it's a true reflection of what was said. Okay, if you can notice, we did not include "Do you agree, Miss Williams?" or "Do you agree, Miss Williams? You agree." that information is not really relevant. And the language, you have to change this. So when you're writing a formal text, you don't use things like I'll, don't, even don't, with the, what do you call this, apostrophe, whatever. Okay, you write in full. As much as it was not possible for me to use I, because when you are writing like this in a reported speech, you don't really use that. Okay, but just for future tasks, make sure that when you are writing a formal text or an academic text, you don't really use this. Okay, so this is typically how you synthesize information. And then I think if you can identify the important information and identify the not so important information and be able to synthesize information, you should be fine. Okay, I think this is the end of the session. I'm not sure if we received any chats anyways. Were there chats? I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Okay, so I hope everyone is happy. If there's someone who's interested in asking questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. Okay, I'll be online until 9:15, so I can take questions if you have questions.